about 1,500 pounds of live rock in there, and there must be over 100 Rose Anemones in the tank. They have just proliferated. We're in the process of doing a water change, a 50-gallon water change. We've also cleaned the acrylic panels in the tank. One of the things that you'll find quite fascinating about this particular tank, not only is the salt water that he's making here using faucet water, but at the same time, this tank with all these corals, anemones, zoanthids, is running on a wet-dry trickle filter. Now granted, it's got a nice protein skimmer in there, and Cande tells us he's not having much in the way of nutrient issues, and certainly as you can see, there's no obvious algae growing in the tank. He does have tangs in the tank, he does have urchins in the tank, and of course those anemones tend to shade a lot of the rock itself, so there's not a whole lot of algae growth. And obviously the nutrient level or water quality is one that's to the benefit of all these anemones. There must be over 100 Rose Anemones in this tank, along with a number of fish, some of which are really quite old or have been around for quite a while. He's currently pumping water out of his container here into the tank, directly into the filter system, and at the same time he's vacuuming the gravel, or in this case the sand at the bottom of the tank, to get out some of the old debris.
So this tank with all those anemones and various corals certainly seems to fly in the face of typical reef tank methodology. It's got a wet-dry trickle filter and water made from the faucet.
See my starfish?
Oh, sand sifter. Oh yeah. Now, with you vacuuming the gravel so much, do you think that's cheating him out of some food source, or is there enough excess food in the tank, maybe from feeding, that
There's enough food source in here for him not to starve out. The tank is too big for the amount of food that goes in there, you know.
And they're feeding a variety of flake foods and frozen foods and such?
That is correct.
How often do they feed?
Twice a day.
Twice a day. Wow.
Twice a day. You want to feed your fish that have a high metabolism twice a day. They do burn off a lot of energy, and you want to keep them nice and fat. Think like fish as far as like antias, certain small tangs. Those are the fish that have a real high metabolism. The damselfish. They're always swimming.
Right. And so with twice daily feedings, salt water that we've essentially made from faucet water, a wet-dry trickle filter, you don't really have a nutrient issue. You know, you say, what would you say your nitrates and your phosphates might be?
They're going to be at the lowest level. I have my test kit right there on the side that we will check. We'll check the nitrate, the pH, and even the ammonia level, which, you know, there shouldn't be none in here.
Okay.
You know, like I said, you know, we detoxify our water before we start it. We start with it, and eventually, you know, the tank, no shock to the tank.
Huh. Well, certainly the proof is in the pudding. Whatever it is you're doing it right, because everybody in there just is exceptional. I mean, I think you said the blue tang that's in there was about 13 years old. There's an Ocellaris clown that's about 15 years old. There's probably a total of what, 20 fish in this tank?
Over 20 fish.
More than 20 fish.
So you just have to ask the question, why? How? It's a wet-dry trickle filter on a system with lots of fish, lots of corals, lots of food, and it's having its water changes done with water developed out of the faucet. And yet, there's no algae problems, there's no nutrient issues. What's this magic guy doing that we haven't all figured out yet?
And we will clean the lids. So we're just about done with the service.
Wow.
As you can see, it looks good as when your car is washed.
Yes.
You know, it's just a beautiful sight.
Yes, that it is. Very impressive.
And you know, once you're done, you know, you have a piece of the ocean. Piece of the ocean in your home. You know, one of the most incredible things that's out there. Jewels from all 7 seas, all mixed in your house. You know, very pleasant to look at, very relaxing. I have customers that'll sit there and fall asleep looking at their tank. You know, there's so many things to look at.
Well, Rose Garden Anemone tank is a very appropriate name for this tank.
I can't seem to get them out. You know, they keep growing and growing and growing. You know, it's just what it's supposed to do.
And
you know?
do you offer any of those excess ones for sale?
A lot of them are for sale. You could get them at your local pet store. You know, I have a lot of friends that are in a wholesale business, and basically they go to them, you know, before they get to you.
So the tank does produce some that can be propagated or resold.
That is correct.
Okay.
And as you can see, you know, with the regular halides, the colors on them, the colors are so intense. There are different shades of pinks and oranges and greens. With the LEDs, you will see a whole totally different color to them.
Okay, so you've pumped about 50 gallons of that new water into the tank, and you've been siphoning water out at the same time, and so our water level should still be at the same spot. There's our water level.
So basically, Cande's acclimation style water change consists of pumping the new salt water into the filter and drawing out the old dirty water via the vacuum attachment and striking a balance between the two.
And so now it's kind of cleanup time.
It's cleanup time.
Roll the hoses up, keep them nice and neat. They're ready to be used next time.
Wrap that up.
I don't know, if that was me, I'd paint the end of that hose big red and have a flashing light or something that says, this end was in the toilet at one time, don't suck on it.
Trust me, I know which end. It has right here a
Oh, okay,
connector,
fitting.
a fitting.
Uh-huh.
Basically, I do have jobs that, you know, the bathroom or the dumping area for the water is further away. I do have a hose that connects that to that's 100 feet, which will stretch it out to where save my back.
There you go. Yeah, me on the other hand, I lug 5 gallon jugs of water around all the time. That's why my arms are about 2 inches longer than they used to be.
This is basically it, you know, just cleaning it up, making sure all the water goes in, all the, you know, keep your hoses nice and clean, always to make sure we don't have any
Spills and drips.
spills and drips and straggling algae with you.
There you go.
Basically everything goes just how it came out.
So it's not only a mixing container, but it's a carry container. You carry all your supplies and blankets and pads and supplements.
And with Cande packing everything away, we pressed him once again for a nutrient test, nitrates, phosphates, or pH.
Now we will check the alkalinity.
It's my understanding that alkalinity is essentially the ability to neutralize acids in the water, whereas pH is the measurement of the acids in the water.
So you're going to check alkalinity here.
Yes.
So by checking alkalinity, that gives you an indication of the pH of the water.
That is correct. Which basically it's almost the same thing. The alkalinity checks the DKH of the water, which is almost very similar to a pH test kit. You add drops one at a time. It goes from green to orange, and you want it to turn orange anywhere from 9 to 12.
Okay.
Here's our first drop. Swirl. Swirl. Swirl.
This type of a test is referred to as a titration test. Essentially, by adding X amount of fluid, at some point it reaches a saturation or a chemical imbalance level and actually changes colors to a different form.
It's making a change. And what is the color change you're looking for? To orange?
Orange. And that is our color.
Okay.
And that
And how
is
many
fine.
drops was that?
That was 11 drops.
11 drops. And so that would correspond to what, 11 degrees of carbonate hardness or something?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And carbonate hardness is what you're using as a gauge to the pH?
Yes. And let's see. And we'll check nitrate. Shake, shake, shake.
Hey, shake, shake, shake.
This is going to give us our nitrate reading.
Nitrate, which is the end result of the biological process. Typically all the food and all the waste through the conversion of bacteria goes from ammonias to nitrites and then becomes nitrate.
We'll let this sit for about 3 to 4 minutes, which
Okay.
usually takes in order for it to give you an accurate reading. As you can see, it's still nice
looks
and
clear.
Still looks very clear. So that's indicating that nitrates are low. They're very low, and you know, that's why we don't have as much algae as we do in the tank.
I always seem to have nutrient issues. I mean, high nitrates, high phosphates, and I just haven't found the secret or the trick to keeping those levels down. And of course, eventually I end up with certain algae problems.
And once again, Cande doesn't take the bait for how you keep those nutrient levels so low.
We're just about ready to put our top back on, and
So make sure to come on back for part 7, and we'll pump him again for some answers as to how he does that.